All right, ladies. So this is Alex from Mindful Attraction 2.0. So today is going to be something different. I wasn't going to make this video, but I was like, you know what? Let me make a video today. So this video is about the 10 epiphanies that I've had that completely changed my life. Mind you, I come from a background where I had a mediocre success in a lot of fields. I've had a lot of, I'm ADD. I can't focus that well for a long time. And ever since I was a kid, I had bad grades. I only made the merit roll once. Back in middle school, I always used to get C's and D's. C's were like, I had a good year, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, yo mom, I had a C, you know? Like, we had to fucking celebrate that because I just couldn't do any better. On top of being bilingual and not understanding the language, that was a problem. So throughout my whole life, I was raised not being the smartest kid in class. I was actually raised having the lowest grade. And in addition to being the one that didn't know English in class, I was alone throughout most of my college career. Throughout most of my school career, I was always alone because I didn't have friends. So because of that, as I grew up, I never really devoted myself to one thing. And the little success that I had was when I was a Bible teacher when I was like 14 years old. And I got good at it very fast because I really, really liked it. And I got so good at it, and again, it's not bragging, but I got so good at it that people were asking me to teach pastors who were in the field with asking me to teach their churches. So it was like I was pretty decent. And the reason why was because I was able to dissect the Bible at a very unique way. I was able to make a lot of cross references, and so that's why I'm able to make these kind of videos, perhaps because I'm able to overthink things. But anyways, let's just start with the 10 epiphanies that I've had that really changed my life for the better. Now, the first one is, if he can do it, I can do it. Success leaves track. This epiphany came from watching this guy his name was Owen. Owen from RSD, Real Social Dynamics. It's a company that teaches men how to meet and attract women. And he is the guy the main teacher. He's like a ginger guy, redhead, balding, 35, has a gut, doesn't look attractive. And if you guys compare me to him, you're like, it doesn't even compare. But he is so fucking amazing at what he does. It looks like fucking magic watching him gain women. It looks like fucking magic. And so it's very similar to watching someone who's rich. It's very similar to watching someone. Okay, it's very similar to being a child, right? When you're a baby and you see adults, what happens? You see adults and you're like, oh, awesome. Like, you see them as like amazing people. But then when you grow up, what happens? You're like, oh, they were just normal people. Just because they were bigger than me, I perceived them differently. I perceived them as God, like almost like a god. You know what I'm saying? Because they're taller. So when we see someone who's successful at something that we want to do, which it was my case, how to meet and attract women, which in your case could be how to get the guy. You admire that. And so because you admire the person, you kind of stunt your growth because you create a veil between yourself and them. You say, wow, they're different. They're made out of a different cloth. When you think of Jay-Z, like the rapper, or Obama, like the politician, you think of someone who's amazing, someone who is not even human. That's how it feels like because of the illusion they put out, branding purposes. But the truth is this, is that there's nothing different between me and Obama, between me and anyone who's famous. The reason why I loved this epiphany was because when I saw him get girls, I realized that it wasn't because I sucked. It wasn't because he was different. It was simply because I didn't have the skill set. So despite how magical it looked, I had to trust in the brain's capacity to learn any skill set and to realize that in the beginning you're gonna suck. So when I saw him get good, when I see him like approaching girls and getting their numbers, I'm like, if he could do it, I could do it. So anytime I felt down, anytime I felt like I couldn't fucking keep going, I said to myself, if he can do it, I can do it. That's that. There's no difference. I always said to myself, if I was Jay-Z when he first started rapping, think about Jay-Z or any other rapper, Eminem, if you were them in their heads, and you were in the same circumstance and you did exactly as they did to the fucking T, you'll get the same results as they did. The only difference is in what you do differently. That's why I love reading biographies, because when I read biographies, I don't just read to read. I say to myself, would I have done that? Will I have done that? I keep reading. I'm like, oh, interesting. Will I have done that? Will I have done that? And you'll see that success is no accident. That's why I tell people, read biographies. Read the biography of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall. You get it motivated. But that's the first one. If he could do it, I could do it. So anytime I need to achieve something, I say to myself, who's the one that done the best? And what did he do differently from everybody else? And you become obsessed with that person. And you become, and you just say to yourself, you know what? Because he could do it, I can do it too. Trust me. There's no difference between me and you. No difference. No difference. Unless it's a biological or genetic difference. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. But, there is a difference. Generally speaking, there's no difference. The only difference is in your perception. And the beauty of all of this is that the brain is malleable up until old age. You can learn these things through psychocybernetics techniques, and go read the book Psychocybernetics and apply this for this first epiphany. If you could do it, I could do it. The second one, success is inevitable if I never give up. You know that track from Eminem, the one where he says, and I try for so hard and it's getting even harder trying to feed one of my C+. He says, something's happening between being a father and a pre-dada baby mama, drama too much for me, want to stay in one spot. Another day, monotony has gotten me to the point I'm like a snare and like God to formulate a plow, end up in jail, a shot. Success is my only motherfucking option, fail is not. Mama love you like, but if Cheddar's got to go, I cannot go home and say on slot. The whole point was that when you hear him rap that song, you're like, this motherfucker is not going to give up until he fucking dies. And I remember days, and I have videos of these, where I would record myself and I would look in the fucking camera and tell myself, and I'm going to post it one day. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Where I told myself, I was like, yo, people are going to see this one day. And everything you went through, you're going to realize that it was just going to become a good story. I was never going to give up. Never. I was never going to give up. I mean, you don't understand what I mean by that. If I would have failed, you know what I would have done? I would have came back home where I live right now and done it again. Saved up money, went back to New York City, did what I had to do. If I failed again, I was going to go back again. I was not going to give up. If this channel failed, I was going to start another one. I was not going to give up. That's that. I was not going to give up. It's just something I am not gonna give up. I just cannot give up, because what's waiting for me if I give up? You know what's waiting for me? I gotta go to sleep at 9 a.m. because I gotta wake up at 8 in the morning. Like I can't do that. I can't do that. And so when you know that success is inevitable, if you never give up and you keep adjusting according to the outcomes that you're having and use failure as feedback, and you never give up, success is inevitable. It's inevitable. Because you have to have a pit bull-like mentality. Man, you have to be persistent. You have to be stubborn from that perspective. And in order for you to do that, you have to believe in yourself. Not because of you're special, but because of what you have in your noggin. You feel me? The third one, whatever you obsess about, you're good at. So make yourself obsessed about the right things. People obsess about the wrong things that's not productive. Whatever you ever obsessed about in life, you were always good at it. I want you to think about that. Well, are you obsessed about a guy? You usually think about the guy. Are you obsessed about with basketball like I am? I usually think about basketball 24/7. Are you obsessed about women? I fucking love women, right? But that's not even the point. Are you obsessed about that shit comes out all the time. I'm not kidding. Are you obsessed about relationships? I think about this all the time. So anything you obsess about, you're good at. I remember when I was playing basketball, when I still play basketball, I was obsessed with working on my release. Just literally working on the fundamental part of the release. Because I became obsessed about the release, rather than becoming obsessed with playing games, I developed a skill set that looked like magic for those who weren't obsessed with me as I was about the fundamentals. Because people obsess about the wrong habits. You obsess about cigarettes, nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, you obsess about the things that are not productive. You obsess about watching TV. You obsess about being on Facebook. But are you obsessed about reading books? Are you obsessed about becoming the best marketer in the world? Are you obsessed about becoming the best dancer? Are you obsessed about becoming the best service provider? I mean, become obsessed about a skill set that is guaranteed to bring you money, and you will inevitably be successful. Inevitably. Just make sure to obsess about the right things. You see? So may I ask you, what are you obsessed about? What do you think about most of the time? And I can promise you that whatever you're obsessed about, whatever you feel more emotion for, you're usually good at. Just obsess yourself about the right things. So my obsession became picking up women. You know, and then my obsession became being able to be a good teacher and being articulate. And it went on and on. All right, so the fourth one, I don't trust myself. I trust my mind. See, I said it wrong. I don't trust my mind. I trust my subconscious mind. There is my mind, my fucking brain, right? Right? But then there's a part of me that is not part of my mind, but my mind is part of, which is a universal consciousness. And now, look, I'm gonna fucking lose a lot of people, but just listen to me, okay? I don't trust myself. I remember when I was learning game, and I was like, damn, I cannot get it right. Girls are just ignoring me. And I would lose a lot of motivation. Like, because when you approach a girl and she rejects you, that shit hurts. You know? And I'm like, yo, I can't fucking do this. And I would go home depressed, right? Like, that's how bad it was. I would go home depressed. But because I was obsessed about the skill set, I couldn't stop. So what was my consolidation? I said to myself, I'm envisioning myself approaching women, and I'm envisioning myself having women wanting to chase me as opposed to me chasing them. And I saw that vision fucking clearly, right? You're gonna become obsessed about it. I mean, and it's gonna happen, and it's not because of you, because you're special, but because of what you have in your noggin. You feel me? The other one, do the opposite. Anytime you're not getting the outcome that you want, do the opposite. So, for example, remember my other YouTube channel? It's a channel for men. I'm talking about almost the same thing. And I said to myself, I need this to grow a little bit faster. So I was like, you know what? Through suggestion through other people. But then I was like, you know what? Let me make the decision. Let me do the opposite and teach women. And I taught women, and it happened. Okay, what's another thing that's the opposite? Every person's teaching girls how to meet guys, right? What are they making? Short videos. So what am I going to make? Long videos. And guess what? I just happen to do that because I just talk a lot. Then what's the other one? Most people talk about being nice. Oh, be the nice girl, you know. Don't fucking, you know, manipulate guys, right? So what am I gonna do? I'm like, all right, rather than teach the nice side, let me teach the dark side of seduction. And I did that. You see, so if everyone's is very cheap, be expensive. If everyone's expensive, be more affordable. Do the opposite if you're not getting the results you want. You see, I'm gonna crack my back. Okay, the other one. Do what others don't want to do. If you noticed, for example, me, I read a lot of books. Now, I don't read a lot of books, but when I read something, I digest that shit, man. And I keep listening to it. That's what I do. You see, so I continually read consistently, but that I read and I digest some more. It's kind of like I chew my books. You know, there's a habit that people become informational junkies where they don't digest what they read. They just become informational junkies. But generally speaking, do the opposite. For example, if you were a YouTuber, how many YouTubers do you think that teach dating advice for women that actively read books? That's the total opposite of what dating advice for women is. For example, reading books on war, reading books on power, reading books on manipulation, reading books on propaganda, reading books on different ways to manipulate people, reading books on how cults are made and how they use those tactics. Most guys won't do that. Most dating coaches won't learn that because it's dark. You see, reading books on spirituality, reading books on marketing and using marketing to apply to dating. Like my favorite thing is reading books on war. When I read books on war and I apply to dating, it's always good. But the thing is that try to do what most people wouldn't do. So for example, most people read books and what do? They just graze over it and they teach on it. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to fucking read a whole book, take all those notes, right? And then make a podcast based on those books where I specifically go through each chapter, not turning every fucking stone and using the notes that I took from those chapters and applying it to dating. See, that type of shit most people won't do because it's too time consuming. But I'm willing to do that because I love that shit. Because I do that shit on my own. You know what I'm saying? When I was a Bible teacher, that's what I did all the time. I used to dissect the Bible, fucking read that. Think about it and create a lesson based on that. Just what I'm doing. It's kind of like teaching the Bible in a way, right? Number 7, have a future. Have a future that you fear and run from. You see, if I would have not had a future where it was me working 9 to 5, I would have not done this. if I would have known that I had to work a 9 to 5. I mean, if I would have liked the 9 to 5, I would have not done this. Because what was really motivating me was also the desire to help people out and to teach guys how to meet women, because that wasn't my intention to teach girls this, right? But it was also, I just don't have the patience to go to work for 8 hours a day. I just don't have the patience. I don't give a fuck about presence or mindfulness. That's just not me. Eckhart Tolle says that if you're resisting it, either drop it or change it. Oh, fuck that shit. I'm changing that shit. I'm not accepting that, you know. So you have to have a future that you're running away from. So if you're satisfied with your life, you're not gonna fucking work for it to get away from that. You have to learn to associate massive pain, like Tony Robbins says, associate massive pain to your current situation and massive pleasure to the outcome. So what you have to do is learn to fear set. Do fear setting. And that's a whole totally different topic. And I'll talk about that soon. But if you want to go to YouTube and you go to Google and Google fear setting and apply that. All right. And also find out what will be the cost if you this is the thing though, is that you have to really get to the point where it's rock bottom in your current situation. If you like your job, you're not gonna work for a job that you're not gonna like go through all of the struggle for a job that you kind of want. And when you get your first failure, what's gonna happen? You're gonna say, you know what, I like my old job, so let me go back to it. I worked as a social worker. Fuck that shit, man. I'm not going back there anymore. That shit sucked, man. Although paperwork, I'm not down for that. I can't do that. So I had no other option but to fucking make it. There was no other option. It's just no other option. No other option. It was either stay here or make it. That's that. And because of that little scintilla, success is inevitable, because I am not going back. Fuck that shit, man. I feel like I'm a kid who just left school. I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. If I can learn pickup or basketball, I can learn anything. There are a lot of men learn how to make money, right? Everyone does that, right? Almost anyone can learn how to do that. Not a lot of guys learn how to actually talk to girls and actually become a motherfucking pimp at that shit. Not a lot of guys learn how to see a girl walking in the streets, know how to approach her, know how to create comfort, know how to turn her on in that second without even saying a fucking word, know how to turn her on, know how to get her number, know how to want her to see you again, and do that on a consistent basis to the point that if you're walking down the street and you see a girl you like, likelihood of you getting her number and getting with her is pretty fucking high without going to jail. You know, like it's something that guys dream of. It's a fantasy that guys have, and I made that happen. You know, it took 4 months of intense pain and intense studying and intense practice, but it happened. And what you see today is what you get from pain. You know what I'm saying? So I say to myself, when I learned this, and it was like 2 years ago. I learned it in the summer, so then I was like, you know what? I finally learned that skill set. Let me go back to Pennsylvania and learn marketing, because I identified that if I learn how to marketing, I learn how to brand on top with the skill set that I learned, because most guys who want to become a dating coach, they don't study branding or marketing at the extent that I studied it. Remember what I said? Do what most people are not willing to do. Identify the trait, identify the skill set that most guys don't have in your skill set, in your field, and become a master in that, you see? So what I did, I was like, all right, let me get fucking good at marketing and branding. And that's what happened. And because luckily I had the background of being a Pentecostal evangelist, like a preacher, I had the charisma to teach it, you know? And I just had to get used to speaking in English, because I used to teach in Spanish, you know? So it was different, like, you know, oh, yo muchacho, ¿cómo tú estás? Anyways, and I also learned basketball. Mind you, I sucked at playing basketball throughout my whole life. I sucked at that. So what I did was, I was like, you know what? Let me fucking train how to play basketball the right way. So, because I always loved playing games, like the games, I never really went back to the fundamentals. I never got the chance to actually relax and learn how to shoot with one hand. You know, like just shoot with one hand for 20 minutes a day. And then after those 20 minutes, I would shoot with two hands, like just two hands in like 2 feet away. But it's boring. But you're learning the fundamentals. Now look, in the beginning it doesn't look like it's working, right? But after 2 months of doing this, I got used to this release. So then it was like it just fucking clicked, and it was money after that. It was like money. So how did that help? Every time I struggle with something, that's what I thought of. Every single time I struggle with something, that's the first thing that I always went back to. I was like, I remember I sucked at basketball my whole life. I never learned how to talk to girls. And whenever I was in my car listening to Eminem 8 Miles, and I was just like, I learned something that's harder than this. This is not compared to this. And it helped me keep going. Because when you learn, these are called reference experiences. If you could do this, you can also do this. It's that simple. The brain, if you become obsessed about something and you focus on the fundamentals, focus on the number one thing that everyone neglects, you're going to be successful in that field no matter what. It's that simple. The ninth one, failure is feedback. When I would tell guys, look, when you approach a girl, don't get dissatisfied, don't get sad. That's feedback. You see, it's feedback. Don't take it personal. It's feedback. What, a girl doesn't like you doesn't mean you suck as a person. It just means you're doing the wrong thing. You see, people take failure too personal. They identify with it too much. Rather than saying I failed, they say I'm a failure. They create an identity. You see what I'm saying? They don't separate themselves from the outcome. So what you have to do is learn to take failure as feedback. Because when you do, you are insinuating that success is inevitable because you're getting feedback for a certain outcome. What you're not getting clients? Okay, then raise your prices. What you're not, they don't want to work with you? Okay, then find out why they don't want to work with you. Keep asking why, and never give up. When you fail, find out what you did wrong, like a good general does when he loses a battle, and execute for the next time and plan ahead. Failure is feedback. And another thing is that failure doesn't happen in that instant. Failure happens days prior to the failure. For example, you don't wake up late to work because you wake up late. That's not where the failure happened. Failure occurred the night before when you said yes to go hang out with your friends because you were bored. So it's not that you said yes to go out with your friends. It's that you were bored. You see, what emotion caused the action that diverted the whole ship? And you focus on that. And you don't say, oh, well, I failed. No, find out what the fuck that failure was and improve upon it for the next time. Number 10, the last one. It never looks how it started. This is something incredible that, remember, wax on, wax off with the Karate Kid, right? It looks irrelevant, but that in and of itself, when you master that, then when you branch out of that, it converts to different skill sets. For example, doing this, like the shooting drill, like this, like doing this consistently, an hour a day, right? It looks crazy, like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, does this help? Motherfucking yeah. Because if you don't have this release when you're playing basketball, like if this is not consistent, you could do a fadeaway, you could do a pull-up, and this, no matter if you did everything right, but this release is wrong, you're done. So yeah, when your people are watching you practice, they're gonna say, what the fuck, he's just doing one little drill. But they don't see that when you play basketball, the number one skill that is required most is that skill that looks the most boring. Similar to human beings. When you come out, you don't look like you look now, right? You don't. If you look at yourself in that moment and a baby could think, what's the baby gonna say? What the fuck? This is impossible. How am I ever gonna get that big? How am I ever gonna be able to dunk on people? How am I ever gonna be able to talk? I can't even think. I can't even formulate thoughts. But because that baby is not impatient, because that baby is not waiting for an outcome, what does that baby do? The baby learns to enjoy every motherfucking step of the process. He's fully present. Well, he can only he'll gaga the shit out of that gaga. He can only crawl, he'll crawl the shit out of crawling. you know. But the point is that he's not focused on the outcome, but because of that, he's able to focus on the process. For the baby, the process is already lined out. You see, for your responsibility is find out how do you get to your goal, okay, and then find out the rudimentary steps. What's the first thing you have to do? Okay, and the thing is that first thing you have to do doesn't motivate people that much because it looks so irrelevant. You see, for example, like when I teach guys how to talk to girls, you know what's the first thing I teach them? Visualize yourself being good with women. Visualize yourself exactly how you want women to react to you. Visualize yourself exactly how you want to get girls. Exactly to the motherfucking T. Do that for 3 weeks and then call me. Those who do it, get fucking good. Those who don't get good. But why is that? It's because it's kind of like going to the gym. When you go to the gym without a workout in mind, what happens? You go to the gym and you're like, oh shit, where do I start? You like freeze, right? Because you don't know where to go. But when you go to the gym, knowing exactly how you want to fucking work out, when you are on your way to the gym, you're already working out in your mind. What happens when you get to the gym? Boom, you're like, okay, let's get started. You're really taking action. So the same thing when you're talking to when you're approaching a woman, from how I teach guys, is that first you want to know exactly how you want their interactions to look. You want to see the whole process from beginning to end. And those who do it are gonna see the difference where they approach and they see it almost as though it's a deja vu. It feels like a familiarity, like, oh shit, like I've been here before. You have exposed yourself in your mind to the stimulus. And you now have fear anymore. Familiarity removes fear. And that's something that I'll talk about in the future, about how to make a guy chase you by taking away that familiarity. Okay. Anyways, so that's what I learned, is that when you're learning something towards mastery, the first couple steps don't look like it's anything crazy or even anything that looks like it. But there's gonna hit a certain point, like you're gonna get this momentum where everything just starts fucking rising up. That's how it is. Like you suck, and you start going up. This little phase is more important than this, because this lays out the foundation. If you don't get this right, you know what's gonna happen? You get this, and then because it doesn't have a proper foundation. And it's not pretty going through those initial stages, but it's fucking necessary. It's actually more important. So I was here for almost 2 years in Pennsylvania, learning how to market, finding ways to articulate what I'm saying. So I would begin writing. I used to have a blog. And so I thought about all of these topics for so fucking long that when I talked about it, I was surprised. I'm like, what the fuck is coming out of my mouth? It's because I forgot that I wrote that. Because I was writing it, I really kind of like, in a way, articulated almost all the things that I know. So it's easy for me to put it out there. That's one of the benefits of writing. So anything that you're going to do in success starts out irrelevant. The first book I read was Rituals, Daily Rituals. And the first word I learned was, do you speak Spanish? And it doesn't look crazy, like, oh, you're gonna, that's the first step, how to say hi, how to speak Spanish. But when you're looking at it from that moment, it doesn't look irrelevant. But when you're looking at it from the whole perspective, it's necessary. You have to learn the fundamentals. And that's, people don't like the fundamentals. People don't like the fundamentals. Learn to love the fundamentals, which is always the things that don't look like the outcome that you want, and you will be successful inevitably. It's that simple. Like right now, you may not have the skill set that requires for you to make money, but guess what? 8 months ago, I didn't know I had the skill set that enabled me to make money, but I did have it, but I just didn't know that. Because I wasn't looking around. I was like, wow. I wasn't looking. I was like, man, where should I go? I was looking around. And yeah, I couldn't find it in the beginning. But just like when you're trying to find an object in the dark room, you keep poking, you keep poking, and then you find it. But you got to keep poking around to find it. And those little poking arounds is the failures, the initial stages. Those are the 10 things that I've noticed that really made the difference in my mentality, which is, let me go over it. If he could do it, I could do it. Number 2, success is inevitable if you never give up. 3, whatever you obsess about, you're usually good at. So obsess about the right things. 4, I don't trust myself. I trust my mind. 5, do the opposite. 6, do what others don't want to do. 7, have a future that you fear and run from it. 8, if I could learn how to play basketball or talk to girls, I could learn anything. 9, failure is feedback. 10, it never looks how it started. And 11, challenges help you grow. Anyways, this is Alex from mindfulattraction.org. I hope you guys have a good day. Doo-doo-doo.